Okay, so introduce yourself and your background as a journalist.
Okay. Hi, I'm Erik Sandoval, and I've been a news reporter for more than 30 years now. I've been in the Orlando area for the last 12 years, and I am currently a manager of content and coverage for WKMG Channel 6 in Orlando.
Wrong brand, News 6. So how did you first find out you had prostate cancer?
I found out that something was wrong from my urologist. He ran my PSA numbers, and they were extremely high. They were 10, which is really high, and it was concerning for him. So he took a biopsy, and he found signs of cancer in some of the cores that were taken out of my prostate.
So were you experiencing any symptoms, or was the diagnosis a complete surprise?
The really worrying thing for me was I had no symptoms. I went in for a regular physical, and they just ran a blood test. They found out my PSA levels were high in my blood, and they did the biopsy, found that there was cancer in my prostate. I had no symptoms. I would have just kept on going with this cancer inside me.
What went through your mind when you first heard the words, "You have cancer"?
Wow. When I found out I had cancer, it was really eye-opening. I remember sitting in my car in the parking lot of work because I got the call at work, and it's not news anybody wants to get. Fortunately for me, the cancer was contained inside the prostate. It hadn't metastasized, but I didn't know that at the time. There were a lot of unanswered questions, and of course, my mind went to the worst case scenario. So unsettling, I think, would be an understatement. Scared. I was absolutely scared.
What was your initial reaction, thoughts, emotions when you got this diagnosis? You kind of said that.
Yeah, I'm good.
So what led you to choose Advent Health Global Robotics Institute for your treatment?
So I started asking around who is the best person to address prostate cancer, and somebody mentioned Dr. Patel. I went, I know that name, I know that name. And I did a story on Dr. Patel 10 years ago, and his Advanced Robotics Institute, and the ways that he was going in and getting the process done with minimum cutting, minimum problems. And so I really felt confident when I reached out, knowing that I was in good hands.
And how did you feel when you learned that the robotic-assisted surgery was an option for you?
I think when I found out that this was an option for me, it was a really big sigh of relief, because you look at the old textbooks and how prostate cancer used to be removed, and they used to literally cut across the side of you. This was just a couple holes in your torso, and it was wrapped up. You're good.
And then what factors influenced your decision to undergo robotic surgery rather than other treatment options?
So I explored radiation and other treatments, and I actually had a coworker who went through radiation, and I called him, and he told me of the painful journey that he went through with radiation and then opting for surgery when radiation didn't work. He said it was just a nightmare. He urged me, just get the prostate removed, your worries will be done. And you know what? He's right.
What made the medical team at Advent Health stand out to you?
When I first walked into the Robotic Institute, everybody was so friendly. They were so accommodating. It's like they knew what you were going through. They empathized with you. They wanted to go on the journey with you. Sometimes you go to the doctor and the staff is really cold, and they just want to get through their day. That's not what I got from this staff. They were caring. They wanted to see you through this process, and they wanted to see you alive and thriving after the process.
How did they support you in making your decision?
The staff at Dr. Patel's, let me do that again. Dr. Patel's staff, really walked me through step by step of, what I needed to do before surgery, during surgery, and after surgery. And I think their knowledge and, really the way that they told me what I'd be going through really gave me comfort. It's like they'd seen that. They hadn't done it themselves, but they'd been by the sides of enough people where they knew exactly what the process was, and they really calmed my nerves.
And what was your first impression of Dr. Patel?
Oh, Dr. Patel's awesome. Oh my gosh, he walks in the room and he just radiates professionalism, and he radiates this knowledge that he knows what he's doing. But on the flip side, he also radiates this compassion and empathy. He knows what you're going through. He understands your fears. He understands you're scared. He understands your family is scared about this. But I know that he was there to walk me through this as a patient. I wasn't just a number to him. I wasn't just a name to him. I was a human being, and I felt that.
How did it make you feel knowing Dr. Patel would be the one performing your procedure?
I felt really confident knowing Dr. Patel would be doing my procedure. I knew he was a rock star in this world, and I had every confidence in the world.
And what stood out to you most about his approach to patient care?
I said this earlier, but I think I'll just say it again. His approach to patient care is one of compassion, one of empathy. He knows what you're going through. Short of physically holding my hand, I felt like he was holding my hand and my family's hand through this entire process. I felt his love. I felt his compassion.
All right, on to the next section. Can you walk us through what the day of your surgery was like?
The day of my surgery started really, really early, like 3 o'clock in the morning, because I had to be at Advent Health Celebration at 5 a.m. I was a nervous wreck. I was scared. I was hungry. I couldn't eat the day before. And they wheeled me back and started going through the pre-op procedures. I just remember thinking to myself, okay, you got this. Said a prayer. I knew the staff was going to treat me right, and I just put all my faith in Dr. Patel's hands and in God's hands at that point.
Were there any fears or concerns you had going into surgery, and how were they addressed?
I was more of the type that I just wanted the surgery done. I didn't want to give myself time to be scared. If I thought about it too much, I sort of started going there. But I mean, all my concerns were, addressed by the staff. I tried not to psych myself out. I really did. I knew that they just had to go in, take it out, and I'd be done. But if I focused too long on what that process may look like or could be like, I would just wig myself out. So I just stayed away from that.
Where am I? Okay, how did the robotic assisted procedure differ from what you expected?
The robot assisted procedure was really what I thought it would be, and even better, because you look at how prostates used to be removed, where they would literally cut you across the torso here. This is just little holes in your torso. They go in, all the little arms just nip away at what they're supposed to nip away at, and they get rid of it. I'm a year after my surgery now, and I can tell you a year later, there's barely any marks on my torso. It's fantastic.
And how did the care team at Advent Health support you through the process?
The care team at Advent Health was fantastic. Especially right after surgery, you're wheeled into your room. The staff just kept coming in, checking on me, making sure that I was getting up, walking around. And for those of you who've been through that procedure, to get up and walk around. You make friends in the hallways. You're walking around the hospital. Staff was great.
And what was your biggest takeaway from the surgical experience?
Oh, my biggest takeaway from the surgical experience was that Dr. Patel has a great team. Advent Health has a great team. From the prep to walking you through it, to the counseling, the cheerleading, I guess you could call it, afterwards to make sure that you're okay and checking in on you. The aftercare, the Zoom meetings you can go through to make sure that you're on track. The pelvic floor therapy just to get you back on track, literally back on track. Um, I, all in a nutshell, Dr. Patel's team made it a survivable experience.
So what was the recovery process like? Were there any surprises?
I think the biggest surprise was totally losing control of your bladder. I'm 53 years old, and all of a sudden I'm wetting myself. It was just a really odd experience for me, but I think the pelvic floor therapy, really adhering to that, being serious about it, doing your exercises, doing your Kegels, I'm back to normal.
How soon after surgery did you start feeling like yourself again?
I'd say I started feeling like myself about 4 or 5 weeks after surgery. I wanted to go back to work sooner than I should have. I didn't go back to work, but I wanted to. And I think that was a sign to me that I was ready to get up and get going. It's been a year since my surgery, and I can honestly say, looking back, I probably didn't really become myself again until probably 8 weeks after surgery.
What impact did the surgery have on your overall quality of life?
Oh, well, I don't have to worry about cancer anymore. That's a big thing. That really improved my life. They got all the cancer. My PSA levels are near zero now, and they're staying near zero. I think overall my quality of life is pretty fantastic.
Were there any challenges in recovery that you didn't anticipate?
I think the regaining of the bladder control was a little surprising. It took longer than I thought it would. And, I've spoken to some other people who have since gone through surgery, and they felt the same thing. You think, okay, yeah, I'm 53 years old. I can control my bladder. I'm going to get that back right away. It took a little bit longer than I thought it would. I had to wear, the guards and the Depends for longer than I wanted to. I think it's probably a pride thing and an ego thing, but that just made me more committed to getting back in control.
How did this experience change your perspective on health and early detection?
So I've always been a proponent in early screening for everything and getting every vaccination I possibly can so that I don't get anything. But more so now, whenever I go to the doctor for a physical or any checkup, I make sure that I'm getting screened for every possible thing. Look, I found out about this cancer on a fluke. I went in for a physical, they ran blood work, and my PSA level was really high at a 10. So I am a big proponent in making sure you get your physicals on a regular basis and getting screened for everything as much as you can.
All right, that's another section down.
Okay.
Now we're to, why do you think it's important for men to be proactive about their health, especially prostate cancer screenings?
So I know the guidelines for prostate cancer screening are a little bit controversial, I guess is the right word. The agency that guides men to get screened for prostate cancer says that you shouldn't do it until you're a lot older. I think if I were screened for prostate cancer at an earlier age, I would have caught it at an earlier age. Ever since I went through surgery, I've been telling as many men as possible to get screened for prostate cancer. And they look at me like I'm crazy because, I don't show any symptoms, I'm not sick. Well, I wasn't either. And, the earlier you can get screened for it, and especially on a more regular basis, I think the better off everybody will be.
What advice would you give to someone who has just been diagnosed and is considering their treatment options?
If you've just been diagnosed and you're looking at treatment options, I'd say look at all of the options. There's not one option that is best for everyone. Yeah, you can go in and get your prostate removed and just be done with it. But with that comes some side effects that you may or may not be willing to live with for the rest of your life. I respect everybody's choices, but I respect everybody's choice as long as it's an informed choice and they do their research.
How has the journey changed the way you approach life?
I approach life with gratitude every day now. I think I would have said that before, but gosh, do I mean it in a totally different way now. You know, I know that my life in general is very fragile, that it can take just one thing to change it, and it did change it for me. Yeah, my body works differently now, and I have to think about things differently now. I'm a lot more physically active than I used to be. My life has changed for the better. Yeah.
How has sharing your story publicly impacted others? Have you received any meaningful responses?
Yeah. So as soon as I was diagnosed, actually the day that I received my cancer diagnosis, I started a video blog. Started recording, videos of myself and my journey. And I've been posting those on social media and on YouTube. I did a story on it on News 6, just showing my journey and how my cancer is gone, and urging other men to get screened, and the reaction that I've gotten has been fantastic. Within the last 2 months, I've basically coached 2 other men through their prostatectomies. They were patients of Dr. Patel's. They reached out to me because they saw my videos, and I've been texting them, calling them, making sure they're okay, urging them to go to that pelvic floor therapy, coaching them through their incontinence, telling them that there's a light at the end of the tunnel. It's been really rewarding, the reaction that I've gotten as a result.
All right, next section. If you had to summarize your experience with Advent Health Global Robotics Institute in one sentence, what would it be?
In one sentence? Oh, if you have the unfortunate, let me say that again. If you get the diagnosis of prostate cancer, there's only one place that you need to think about, and that is Advent Health's Robotics Institute. The staff there is fantastic, and you will not regret it. That was 2 sentences, sorry.
Could have been a sentence.
It was a compound sentence.
Is there anything else you'd like to share about your journey, or anything that you think could help others facing a similar journey?
Everybody's journey is going to be different. I get that. My journey, fortunately, didn't have many complications. It was more discomfort and, life getting in the way and side effects getting in the way. But you know what? I came out on the other side and everything was good. I would just say, don't give up. You get your prostate removed and you have some side effects, and some of them can really get you down. Don't let that win. Fight on, fight through it. You can do it.
Last section, what does it mean to you to be one of the 20,000 patients Dr. Patel has helped?
I think I was patient 18,001. That's what he told me when I came out of surgery. I was almost 18,000, but I missed it by like an hour. There was a guy ahead of me. Now I feel really privileged to be one of Dr. Patel's thousands and thousands of patients. I'm proud to say I'm a success story.
How has his expertise and skill changed your life?
Dr. Patel's expertise and skill has it changed my life because it kept my life. Working hard through the side effects and all of the therapy after surgery, I think I'm finally back to normal, and normal is fantastic at this point.
What do you think makes him such a remarkable surgeon?
Oh gosh, if you've ever spent any time with Dr. Patel, you know that it's his passion that makes him a great surgeon. It's his knowledge, it's his want to share with the world what he has learned. This guy's doing remote surgeries from Orlando. He's doing surgeries across the world virtually using his joysticks. I mean, this guy, talk about thinking out of the box. My gosh.
When you hear that he has performed 20,000 surgeries, what does that number mean to you?
20,000 surgeries means he must be good at what he does, and he is.
If you could say one thing to Dr. Patel to mark this milestone, what would it be?
To mark 20,000? Congratulations, Dr. Patel. I'm glad to be one of the thousands and thousands of people that you've helped. Thank you from the bottom of my heart.
How would you describe the impact of his work in just a few words?
Well, I alluded to it earlier, but Dr. Patel is branching out so much that he's doing virtual surgeries around the world. The patient can be, in Africa or Asia, and he's here in Orlando, performing the surgery virtually. To have somebody with that kind of foresight, talent, and it's just amazing.
Last question, what message would you share with future patients who will be in his care?
To future patients who are in Dr. Patel's care, you are in wonderful hands.
Robotic hands.
Robotic hands.
All right, that's it.